What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and show where I, Graham G. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the August 14th, 2023 edition of Raw Talk. We had Megan Morant, Matt Camp in the studio running down the biggest headlines from Monday's Raw, including recapping the Gable win over Giovanni Vinci on Monday night, as well as Gunther's win over Otis in non-title action. We hear from Alpha Academy backstage with, I think, Byron Saxton. Maxine Dupree calls Ludwig Kaiser a creep for how he's been kind of trying to come on to her in the last couple of weeks. Gable addresses Gunther and says that he will not make history at the expense of his opportunity. And next week on Monday night, he's walking out of Raw, the new Intercontinental Champion. Matt Camp says that Gunther will be at 438 days as Intercontinental Champion come next Monday. The record is 454 from the Honky Tonk Man. So if he can survive another couple of weeks, he will break the record. I'm surprised they're doing it on Raw next week and not waiting until closer to the record. He'll probably have another defense before then. I'm just surprised they're doing it next week and not waiting until Payback or the Monday after Payback or the week before Payback or whatever. Anyway, they replay the Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle tag team win over the Viking Raiders, and they hype up McIntyre and Riddle as its unlikely alliance taking on the New Day next week on Raw, kind of in a way, not an official, but in a kind of number one contenders match for the undisputed tag team titles. The winning team getting one step closer to challenging for those championships at some point. They recap the Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus match, which ended in a double countout. So they're having the steel cage match next week on Raw, and they talk about that and how that should settle the score, hopefully, once and for all. Hopefully. We hear from Shayna Baszler backstage, who says that people may have forgotten what she's capable of these last couple of months, years, whatever. And she will remind everyone on the roster by just wreaking complete havoc on the entire Raw roster. Instead of asking what's next for Shayna Baszler, it's more a matter of who's next. They also replay the Sami Zayn win over McDonough in the beginning of Raw, that victory. They also recap Cody Rhodes versus Finn Balor from the main event of Raw, won by Cody Rhodes. Matt Camp speculates that Balor is attempting to warm Judgment Day up to McDonough, trying to ease him into the fold and get him in as a member of the group based on their interactions on Raw. And that might be his endgame. They didn't mention that on Raw, but that was his own speculation. They also replay the Seth Rollins, Shinsuke Nakamura segment with Nakamura challenging Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. Rollins accepting. No date announced for that. Probably the Payback pay-per-view, I would have to imagine. And also in the graphic, I should note this as well. In the graphic hyping up Nakamura's interview on the show, which I'll mention in a second, and all he really did, by the way, I'll just mention this now. The only thing that he had mentioned here in this interview is that he was going to tease revealing what he said to Rollins on Monday night next week. So we might find out what he said to Rollins next week on Raw. I guess we'll find out. But it is worth noting in the graphic hyping up Nakamura's segment and promo on this show, his interview on this episode, they used his old music because they always use the person's music when they hype up, Alpha Academy coming up next on Raw Talk. They use that person's music. Here they use Nakamura's old heel entrance theme, which is his basic entrance theme with lyrics. I hope that doesn't mean that he's going back to it. He did not come out to that song, which I half expected him to, on Monday's Raw. He did not use that song on Raw last night. I know that's more heelish, and it kind of discourages people singing and whatever. Now that he's a heel, I get it. There's no real reason to change it. He changed it back to the babyface theme for a reason. Just keep it that way. I know he's no longer a babyface for now, but still. Anyway, Megan Morant thinks that Nakamura is successfully gotten into Seth Rollins' head. And Matt Camp says that Nakamura wants that success that he had in Japan in WWE. He hasn't really had that in the main roster as of late, a former Intercontinental Champion, United States Champion, Tag Team Champion, but he has yet to win a World Championship in WWE the same way he did in New Japan. He did in NXT, won the NXT Championship, but in my book, that's not a world title. Anyway, they plug LA Knight and Chelsea Green, one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, for the bump coming up on Wednesday. And that was Raw Talk in a nutshell for August 14th, 2023. Pretty straightforward show, per usual. Nakamura's interview, very brief. Alpha Academy, more of the same stuff from last week. And Shayna's interview was pretty... it was fine. It was kind of teasing, because she wasn't on Raw, so it was nice to get her on Raw Talk, but... nothing really out of the ordinary there either. So kind of a subpar edition of Raw Talk for this week. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome one. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.